Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olga Kryshtaliova, and I am in charge of reviewing the industrial sector. And let's begin. So what is the industrial sector? The industrial sector consists of companies that make and sell machinery, equipment, and supplies used in manufacturing and construction. And these companies involved in aerospace and defense, industrial machinery, tools and construction, waste management, cement and metal fabrication, and manufactured housing. So how large is this sector? According to McKinsey and Company, this sector is directly responsible for 8% of the US workforce, 11% of the US GDP, 55% of all the patents, 60% of exports. It spurs demand in related industries that provide services and inputs, and of course it supports local economies and small suppliers across the country. How the COVID-19 crisis impacted the industrial sector. The sectors that were hit the worst by the COVID-19 pandemic were energy, industrials, and financials, with low points of 44%, 58%, and 57% of their index level, respectively. Of course, it created production stoppages due to supply chain disruption, cost escalation, and workforce dislocation. Some of these things, such as cost escalation and inflation, could still be seen today. And of course, the workforce dislocation, we are still battling the high unemployment numbers to this day. This is a good representation of the stock market performance by industry from February of 2020 to December of 2020. And like I mentioned previously, the sectors that were hit the worst were energy, industrials, and financials. The two companies that I have decided to review today are General Electric and Honeywell. The reason I am reviewing General Electric is because it is a very well-known company. It is a global giant that is a lender, an appliance maker, a media giant, and a healthcare business all in one. And the Honeywell company is, so to speak, close to my heart. I work for a local HVAC company. We do sell and install a lot of Honeywell products, so I'm very well familiar with the company. Brief history of the General Electric, a very brief history of the General Electric. In 1878, Thomas Edison established the Edison Electric Light Company. In 1892, Edison Company merged with the Thomson-Houston Electric Company to form the General Electric Company as it is known today, and company stock began trading at the New York Stock Exchange. In 1906, the first GE major appliance, an electric range, was introduced, and since then GE has grown exponentially. In 2000, GE generated almost $130 billion in revenue, operating as a lender, appliance maker, a universal media giant with NBC Universal, and a healthcare business. In 21, GE announced that it will split the company into three branches that would be focused on aerospace, healthcare, and energy. A brief history of Honeywell. In 1906, Mark Honeywell founded the Honeywell Heating Specialty Company in Wabash, Indiana, to manufacture and market his personal invention, the mercury seal generator. In 1931, Minneapolis Honeywell began a period of expansion and acquisition by purchasing Thermostat Controls Company, giving the parent company a greater access to a number of patents to be used on their control systems. In 1960s, Honeywell entered the computing business after they developed computers named Honeywell 800 and the later models Honeywell 1800 and Honeywell 6000 series. In 2000, a European Commission blocked the merger between General Electric and Honeywell due to the subsequent creation of horizontal monopoly. And that has greatly crushed Honeywell. In fact, they have been trying to recover since the 2000s. In 2018, Honeywell spins off both Turbo Technologies and its consumer products business. Both companies are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. What are the changes in stock market, interest rates, and trade balances brought on by COVID-19 pandemic? Before I address the stock market and trade balances during the COVID-19 pandemic, I would like to do a couple years before that to showcase how GE was affected during the pandemic. So unfortunately, in January of 2017, GE announced that it would cut 12,000 jobs, and the stock fell 45% in the course of the year. In November of 2017, GE unveiled a broad restructuring and halved its quarterly dividend from 24 cents to 12 cents a share. In December of 2018, the company cut the dividend even further to 1 cent per share. And the company suffered a mass restructuring. They laid off thousands of employees across all of the divisions. In 2019, GE aggressively cut its debt and divested unwanted stakes and subsidiaries. The share price rose 53%. However, the arrival of COVID-19 pandemic cut short the rebound of the share price. And on May 15th of 2020, the stock fell to $43.92, a 28-year low. I believe that it is due to the aviation unit that was hit especially hard by the pandemic. The business segment that makes airplanes for Boeing and Airbus, previously GE's most profitable unit, began laying off 10% of its US workforce in March of 2020. Unfortunately, things did not look any better for Honeywell during the pandemic. It started off on a very positive note. It set a good fourth quarter of 2019 earnings, and the 2020 full year guidance was for 0 to 3% organic revenue growth and 5 to 10% ESP growth. However, in March of 2020, the stock was down 36%. Again, it was clear in January that the aerospace industry would take a hit. No one could have predicted how horribly the crisis would spread so quickly and affect all of the areas in the world. On May 1st of 2020, Honeywell's stock price slid further 4.06% to $136.07. Nevertheless, things were not so gloom after all. In November of 2020, the price of the stock neared $205 per share, so it rose. Better than expected third quarter earnings and higher demand for company safety products helped the stock in beating overall markets. What is the plan for the future recovery? So GE announced a deal merging its GE Capital Aviation Services aircraft leasing unit with AerCap Holdings in March of 2021. Therefore, the shares rose 9.3% after the announcement. The transaction was completed in November, and it netted GE $23 billion in cash proceeds, in addition to a 46% stake in the combined business. In November of 21, GE unveiled a plan to split into 3 independent public companies. The first company would be aviation business, the second company is medical equipment unit, and the third company would be the power turbines business. On April 26 of 2022, GE's share price fell more than 10% to a 17-month low after the company warned fiscal 2022 annual earnings were trending toward the low end due to inflation and other evolving pressures. How did the Honeywell fare? And what is their plan for recovery? In 2020, Honeywell announced and implemented 1.5 billion cost-cutting moves. In the last quarter of 2020, the company announced plans for $1.3 billion purchase of Sparta Systems, a developer of software for a life sciences industry. And for the full year, Honeywell reported net income of 4.78 billion or 6.72 per diluted share on sales totaling 32.68 billion. In comparison, for 2019, the company reported net income of 6.14 billion or 8.41 per diluted share and on sales of 36.71 billion. The uncertainty continued to hang over 2021, and in the first quarter, Honeywell faced some grim numbers. Unfortunately, the sales were down to 7.8 billion and earnings per share were just $1.68. For the last 6 months of 2021, Honeywell stock was trending down 9%, all due to oil and gas companies that delayed investment projects and airlines that were flying less than they did before COVID-19. In summary, COVID-19 crisis and related concerns still remain a major challenge for advanced manufacturing, especially automotive, aerospace, oil and gas companies. GE and Honeywell embraced business reorganization and restructuring. Divestitures allowed these companies to better focus resources on key growth markets, while acquisitions were held to make cost savings targets stringent. I want to thank you so much for watching this presentation with me, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Are the works cited?